Welcome back to the Have Not Room. I am joined by Chad and Brian, and we are finally back. It's been a long time because of we didn't cover BB11 because it was a shit show, and this season started like 2 months later than a BB season normally does. So it's been almost a year since we've been talking about Big Brother, and boy, what a week of Big Brother to start off with on BB25.
Yeah, and we missed the finale of Survivor, Ben.
Mhm.
Just life got in the way, so it's been even longer since we've talked any reality TV. But I'm really glad that they put a Survivor on the cast to like make us feel more comfortable, more at home here. So I'm
hmm
excited. I'm excited to talk about it. Chad. How have you liked this so far?
So far, so good. I kind of tailed off of Big Brother last season, just because life got in the way, new job, all that. But this season, I'm super excited. I'm actually really enjoying this cast. These first two episodes are awesome. So I'm actually really excited for this season.
Yeah, I guess we could probably just get quickly out of the way. We do our winner picks, and we usually do it in the previous order of the last season. So last season, Brian's winner pick placed the highest, mine the second highest, Chad's the lowest. So that's the order we picked for this season. So we can just quickly go through because we made these picks before the first episode and before it was confirmed that Suri was in the show, but we knew that there was going to be a 17th house guest. So we had the option to trade our pick for the 17th house guest if we wanted to. We speculated. It was heavy speculation that it could be Suri, but none of us took the gamble. So
Yeah, for me, I just years and years of reading rumors on Twitter about house guests coming back, about captain seasons, about all stars, to the point where I'm just like, I don't believe Suri's there until she was literally in the house in that first
Right.
episode. I didn't let myself believe it, so I didn't want to do that, but I did pick Jared as my winner pick here. So I felt you know pretty much sight unseen that hey, his mom, a legend of these games, winner spoilers for the Traders, winner of the first season of the Traders, four-time Survivor player. Almost every time she went out was under insane circumstances. So just a complete legend. I felt like maybe he would have learned a thing or two from that. So I put all my chips on Jared to win here.
yeah, I mean, I think it is the most obvious pick. I mean, if I had picked first, I would have also picked Jared.
Yeah.
So I think that's the most obvious pick coming into a cast sight unseen. I decided to go. I was looking at a few options. I was looking at maybe Matt, maybe Jag, but I ended up going with the person who we'll be talking about a lot tonight because she ends up becoming the first HOH. I picked Riley to be my winner, and I felt really good when she became HOH, and I've kind of like become a little bit, as we'll talk about, more and more worried about that pick, but we'll see. There's still plenty of game left to be played. So that was my pick. Chad, what about you?
Yeah, I was left with the scraps, so I went I went with America, and I feel pretty good about that. She's a super fan, watched every season, seems like three times over, and she's not, you know, she doesn't like intimidate me in any way. She doesn't seem like she's gonna be the best physical. She doesn't seem like she's gonna be the best social. So I think if she goes according to her plan, she's gonna fly under the radar, then turn her game on, late season, and hopefully push out a win. So I'm hopeful. I think all three of our picks are pretty solid, and that's probably the order that I would pick them if I had to draft a top three. And yeah,
All
good job,
right.
team.
Yeah, and I think one of my favorite parts about America is just everyone on Twitter desperately trying to figure out who she was on Twitter because apparently she was a Big Brother tweeter. So everyone's like, okay, who isn't here this season that's
Right.
normally tweeting? I'm
She's gonna have
sure.
to watch.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll figure it out by the end of this season if she
Yeah,
doesn't, say it herself. But I just
she
thought
make
that was very funny as a subplot online.
she'll make one hamster joke, and everyone will be like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, I mean, that's it's better than what people were speculating previously, which was that she was a producer plant because she didn't really have any major active social media, and she was going to be America's player because her name was America, and she wasn't actually a real person.
Yeah, they thought she was ripped, much like the multiverse twist itself from the MCU and put into the house.
Yeah.
That would have been a cool twist, but I feel like that's a stretch even for Big Brother.
Yeah, well,
It would have been cool.
I feel like Big Brother has done so much crazy things and like wacky twists that like people have just turned into the "It's Always Sunny" meme, the Pepe Sylvia meme.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
every single time something doesn't fully 100% pass the smell test, everyone just goes insane. So
yeah, and like the MCU is owned by Disney now. If it was still produced by Paramount, like the original Iron Man, I'm sure they would have shoehorned a lot more over the years into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's those are our picks. I guess we could, quickly go through episode 1 because not a lot of meat on episode 1. It's just intros, which we already knew the cast coming in, so like we kind of had a pretty decent understanding of them, and we didn't really get a ton more from them other than their little packages because 65% of the episode was just them doing comps. But what do you guys think, I guess, of this nomination power twist thing where instead of an HOH right off the bat, we're nominating 4 people based off of them losing a comp?
Chad, you want to take
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of like it's an okay twist. It seems kind of harmless. I mean, we've kind of debunked this first HOH never wins, theory or whatever, because, Cody won All Stars and I can't remember another one, but, it's just not a thing.
Nicole.
So, Nicole. Mm-hmm. So this kind of takes away the first HOH's power a little bit, but if your first HOH, you're still a shoo-in, and being able to take 2 noms off the block, that kind of helps that first HOH gain more allies, I guess. And you can still backdoor someone, I guess, feel less bad about it. But I don't know. It's a good shakeup, I guess.
Yeah, and in theory, for the first HOH, you didn't nominate anybody. You just didn't take them off the block. It's not fully your fault.
Right.
That the nominees are there. It's their fault for losing these silly comps. I should have kicked yourself in the butt harder. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I agree for the most part. I don't think there's definitely been way more egregious twists. It's relatively harmless. I would have liked for the comps to be like a little bit more even. Like for a first HOH, it's not that big of a deal if it kind of heavily favors one type of player or another. But like 3 out of the 4 of these comps were pretty heavily physical. So like right off the bat, you're kind of expecting people who are like less physical to probably be nominated. So right off that, I would have liked maybe kind of more even comps or more crapshooty comps, but ultimately, I don't really think it mattered that much because I think the person who's likely going to be getting evicted first probably would have been in a similar position with or without this twist. But you never know. So would you guys have anything to say about the comps themselves?
Oh, yeah. Let's not do laying down comp on night 1 again. That was really bad TV. And just like even last season with the hanging, that was a little more interesting, and you can like see it more. Like we don't know how hard that giant hand is pulling them, so we don't know. Like there's nothing we can relate to. They're just like 4 people laying down on the floor, and you're just like waiting for something to happen. I almost like wonder if they could have just ran it while other comps were running and have like a picture-in-picture type thing happening, or what, because that was rough.
Yeah, I didn't like that one at all because even I was thinking like this could go for like hours, and then at one point I think it was Luke. He had like one hand on it, one hand on the thing. So I'm like, how hard is this thing really pulling them?
That's what I'm saying. Like, we just can't understand it
Right.
at all.
I think they should have just done quick crapshoot comps, because then it's like, oh, whatever, it's luck of the draw. But
yeah,
it's big early.
or even something similar to what the HOH comp ended up being, which is like the balance beam thing they've done before. Like a balance beam comp also like kind of favors one or more people, but at least it's more visually easier to follow. Because like I agree that the laying down comp was bad, but I think something that kind of got buried was that the wire comp that Felicia ends up losing, also incredibly hard to follow. I have no clue what the hell was going on with that comp, what the purpose of it was. I just like, I saw them moving things like this. I didn't know what kind of puzzle or whatever they were doing. And then 3 of them had slime on them, and Felicia was still holding her first wire because she didn't know what the hell was going on.
Don't they usually do like a version of that late game, like kind of mid-season?
Yeah,
The
it's
thing,
like
like blows up
the
on
wire, like
yeah,
but
mixing the potions or whatever.
yeah, mixing
know.
potions. But yeah, I agree, Ben. It was also like kind of tough because they had 2 angles of the comp, but like the top down angle was not really zoomed in enough to where you could really see anything or what was happening. And just like, yeah, another one that probably is better in theory than it actually was in practice.
Yeah. And the only one of the 4 that I could really fully follow what was going on was the butt kicking one, which was like very obviously over in 5 seconds. And then you had to just sit there for like 3 to 4 minutes and wait for Carson to lose.
Yeah, no, I mean, tough for that group to have like someone who's training to be an Olympic athlete, like as one of the people who you're going against, right? Like he just crushed it so hard.
Yeah.
Although Haysom, he did well too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was very short. Haysom, yeah, very short. Hyman. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah. No, not that.
Yeah,
he
was very
impressed
quick
me
behind.
with his cardio and then his performance in the first HOH too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, and spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's pretty much it. I mean, like the only thing that was left from that first episode was them coming in and seeing Suri, and then us kind of getting like a little bit of a sneak peek of what we would see at the very start of the Sunday Night episode, which was we saw at the very end Izzy pulling Jared to the side and like kind of whispering to him, and then doing like a little pinky square like kiss thing. A lot of people at the time speculated that was Izzy telling Jared that she knew who he was, and being like, "Hey, I got you. I'm not gonna tell anyone." And that ends up being the case right off the bat. Sunday morning or Sunday night episode, we see the full conversation where Izzy's like, "Hey, Jared," and he starts yelling, and like 3 other people are in earshot, and I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Wait, I know you. You're Suri Fields' son," and he's like, "Motherfucker, get into the hallway. We're not doing this in front of everybody."
Yeah, I really liked well, that scene obviously was very fun, but I also just really liked that I was like, oh, it's not because she knew him from Survivor, it's because she specifically stalks Suri on social media, is what she says. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it checks out. From what we've
Yeah,
seen of Izzy in the house, it checks out.
Yeah. Because I've watched Game Changers a few times, more times than probably was needed, quite frankly, for that season. I don't think I would have recognized Jared as Suri's son, just from that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Shannon Gus on Twitter when Suri did her like intro when they were doing the champagne circle. She is basically not lying about herself at all, and is just changing Jared's name for Jamie in like all of her discussions about her sons, but otherwise is basically like telling the full truth. And so I guess I couldn't remember this. I guess I'm not a big enough Survivor fan, but in Suri's Micronesia exit video thing right after she gets voted out at the final three. She like shouts out her whole family, including all three of her sons. So like Shannon was like, "Oh yeah, I would have known immediately because I have that confessional burned into my brain." And I was like, "Okay, well."
Yeah. There's sometimes where I'm like, I'm too much of a freak with these shows, and then stuff like that comes across my feed, and like, I'm fine actually. I'm adjusted, if anything.
So yeah, I mean, there's definitely. I think I would have been surprised if there were one person to not immediately figure it out and know. But I do know that Jared is like active and like goes to events and stuff. So like, there's got to be one super fan that like figures it out, I would assume.
Yeah. That makes sense for sure. Trying to think anything else. I was hoping that there would be a little like reason where she was like, "Oh, I didn't compete in the competition because of some random multiverse thing." But no, I was just like, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna fucking play in that bullshit. Like that is way beneath me.
Yeah, that would. I think that would be not only insulting to their intelligence, but ours as the audience. Like we all know why she didn't compete.
Oh man, I will say too, as a comic book reader and a long time comic book reader, I never thought we'd ever get to a point where stuff like the multiverse was like in comic book movies, let alone like an established thing that other non-comic book movies are using and winning Oscars over Big Brothers, including. I thought that was a bridge too far, but here we are.
Here we are.
I guess the next thing we can talk about is the Phalanx 5. So we can quickly go through this because it's not going to be relevant.
No.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about it longer than it existed.
Yeah. So yeah, we had this was night one. Jared, I can't even remember who the fuck is in it because it was like immediately irrelevant. Jared, Riley, Luke, Matt, and Kirsten, I think.
Yeah.
Yep. Sounds about right.
They were just kind of hanging out, and then for some reason, Luke was like, "Yeah, this is an alliance now. We're called the Phalanx 5." They were like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, of course, no one's gonna say no. But
yeah, you don't say no, especially
like,
two of the people who are on the block.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that was, it was, he shot his shot as well as he could.
Yeah, this is the most that Luke has played the game in the first week. So
yeah, he also like, he's like jacked, but he's like with his whole look and stuff, like really going for the Clark Kent, style. I don't know if you guys feel the same.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my read of him was like he came in and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna pretend to be a himbo because this is what I look like, but in reality, I'm actually really smart, but they won't see it coming." But so far, he's just kind of been a himbo. So,
the muscle tees and stuff are speaking to him like the Green Goblin mask. You have to be what you are.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is not very successful, not very long lived. The first of just so many alliances.
Yeah, it does become relevant only because it, as we saw in the episode, explains why Kirsten ends up being the target for the week. Where Kirsten is playing very, very hard right off the gate. Initially, she was doing okay, and it was a lot more of like social gaming. But it kind of got to a point where she's like ending up in a bunch of these different alliances, and because of, for instance, Jared and Cerie's pre-existing relationship, that information is getting very quickly spread around, and that narrative has kind of formed where I think a lot of gameplay this week is kind of built around the fact that Cerie and Jared are secretly related, and a lot of information that in a normal season would stay hidden is not staying hidden because they're kind of feeding information to each other, which kind of demonstrates how powerful that kind of a secret bond is in these games.
Yeah, totally unfair, but Big Brother's not fair. So, it is what it is. I think I'm not going to complain and I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna complain because I like Suri and I want Suri to do well.
Mhm.
So, would I complain if it was someone I didn't like? Maybe, but not today.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have anything else from this the first part of the episode, Chad, before the HOH?
Not really. I mean, it was mostly just people, initial house impressions, picking out their beds. I mean, that have not room seems like it sucks.
Yeah,
Not
the
us, but the actual
butt
room.
kicking machine.
But-
Yeah, the How Not Room sucks. Yeah.
You don't have to kick yourself while listening to this show.
Right.
Yeah,
You
that's,
might
I
want
don't
to
know
after,
why.
but-
Yeah, I don't know why they put that in there. Like, this is great.
So random.
Yeah, it's not great for feeds watching either because the butt kicking machine is so loud. It's like it just drowns out any conversation you're trying to listen to.
100%. I guarantee it is next to like a drop mic in that
Yeah.
room. Like, they did not think that through at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's funny the first time and then it gets old immediately.
Did they have to do that every time they try to exit the room or something?
Yes.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's not great.
Jesus Christ.
The
That's not fun.
only other thing I can think of is that was funny was I referenced the Hyman conversation between Suri and Jared. Another fun thing from that was like Suri kind of like coaching Jared, like, hey, be careful when you're talking to people. Don't be like, hey, I'm going to talk to you later, because that means that the person overhears you. It's like, oh, you're like scheduling an appointment to strategize, right?
Yeah.
So it's like,
It's
already
amazing.
getting the coaching.
Yeah, already like, and there's another. It wasn't in the show. It might be in the show, or was it like in the show a little bit edited? I can't recall. But on the feeds, she had kind of a heart-to-heart with Kirsten, just being like, "This is how you fucked up, and this is why you're like on the block, like just straight up." And I think I would appreciate that as a player, having someone like Suri who's like gonna be very direct with me and stuff like that. Like, I think that probably makes her someone who people trust more, because it's like, oh, Suri's like a straight shooter. Whether or not she is all the time, maybe not, but she will have moments of just like really honest, talk with people, which I think is really good.
Yeah, I could see that being on the Wednesday night episode for sure. But yeah, the kind of narrative that she's been selling is like on Survivor, I was like, I played hard and I was strategic, but I was loyal. And I do think like ultimately mostly true. She's loyal to like some people, right? Like, and that loyalty kind of stands out because it's like the the instances where it mattered. But she definitely snaked other people that were kind of tertiary on her alliance board. And the other argument was like, I don't win, my allies win. And she, talks about like Aris won and Parv won and Sarah won, right? Like these are examples of like, I get to the end with my allies and then my allies are the ones who win. So you want to be an ally of me because I will help you get to the end and then you will beat me, right? Which is like,
it's true.
Yeah, it's
Fair
true.
enough.
On paper, it's true. Obviously, like she's like painting the most favorable picture possible of being an ally to her, and like this is similar to like what like Sandra did in Survivor Game Changers of like, hey, they're not going to let me win for a third time, so you might as well just like let me help you get to the end and then beat me.
I think too, if anyone wants to turn on her, she can just whip out like, the heroes were completely lost without me. They could not think straight. They were giving away hidden immunity idols to the other tribe without me. Like, it was a complete disaster.
And you know what? I think that's so far in this season completely fair. She is the only person on that side of the house that she's on with like any kind of seeming strategic sense, and she alone, and like Felicia to a degree as well, but she alone for the most part is like the only reason why her and her allies have any sort of social power right now.
It actually, in her boot episode of Heroes versus Villains, I'm reminded of a lot of similar moments in this season where like her allies will do this crazy thing, and that it was her allies being like, actually, maybe we should team up with the two people who are against us and
Mhm.
vote off someone who's loyal to us. And then Suri just like had to be like, no, that's dumb. We're
Mhm.
not doing that. And I feel like that's a lot of what Suri's been doing in this house so far.
Mhm.
People coming up with these crazy schemes, mostly Izzy. I'll be honest, mostly Izzy. I'm talking about here. Just going way too hard all the time, and Suri having to be like, interesting, terrible idea. Let's reel it back in.
Yeah. Izzy needs like one of those journals, like where they say people like who have like anger issues, or instead of like confronting people and yelling at them, they're like write an angry letter to them and then throw it out. Right? That's what Serena used to do with Izzy's like ideas and strategies. Like, here, write your ideas in this journal, and then I'll throw it out.
Yeah, that's what messed up JT. He didn't have someone to tell him to throw away the letter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's so awesome to see Suri on. I'm sorry, I'm sure anyone listening to this podcast probably listens to all the other podcasts, and everyone's just been like worshiping Suri, but it's for a reason. You know, we have a long history with her as super fans of these shows,
Mhm.
and she's putting on like a master class of just like, how to play these social strategy games. And like I said, the only time she's ever playing poorly is when Izzy is coming to her and convincing her of these insane, not true ideas.
Yeah, I mean, look, right now, if I were to pick like a favorite to win, I think Cerise is a runaway favorite to win at this point. Obviously, it's week one; a lot of things can change, but like,
Right.
yeah, like obviously, we're going to be hyping up the person that is, a legend in the scene of these shows, and also is like by far the best player right now.
For sure.
So,
Like it's
uh,
like if Derek went on Survivor and like just immediately started like being as good at Survivor as he was at Big Brother, we would be talking about him in the same way.
Right.
Where it's like you probably shouldn't be this good at this other game, giving your reputation, but if they're pulling it off, then what else can you do?
Right.
yeah. So I guess we could talk about our first HOH here. My winner pick, Riley, and she immediately decides with her HOH to listen to people that she is not aligned with and have them tell her what to do with her HOH, which is not the best. But yeah, it is what it is. Luckily for Riley, she also has teamed up with the person that I think is the most likely to be able to do something about Cerise's power structure, which is Jag as her ride or die. We
Right.
saw them having their cute little like juggling moment in the Sunday night episode, and that ends up blossoming into like a friendship. And they ended up being like, okay, night 2, we're going to lock this down, like us two to the end, ride or die. They end up bringing in Blue as a third, which they call, what the hell is there? Crowd control? Is that 3? And then they end up bringing in Cameron and Matt as a 5, and they call that 5 the handful, because a hand has 5 fingers, and they end up after this nomination situation where Riley locks down the 2 people she brings off the block in Corey and Jared. She brings them in as a 6, 7, and America as an 8 for this 8-person majority alliance, which is something we've seen a lot on Big Brother. It's generally successful, but not always if the players aren't good enough. But it's usually a good start, at least. And that is called Family Style. So that's kind of our first big majority alliance for the season that Riley builds.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like you said, it could be good. 8 is the upper limit. We don't want to get into undeniable territory here. That was terrible. It's like what the final
Jesus.
12, and it's like Lord, we have an alliance of 9.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. We'll see if it works. I mean, it's the
Well, I think you can probably take a first guess as to why this is not going to work.
I mean, yeah. Let's talk about it.
Well, I mean, they obviously don't know this, right? But you're not going to be able to make an alliance that includes Jared and excludes Suri. Unfortunate for them. But yeah, Jared immediately basically takes this information and runs it straight to Suri. And the entire house knows about this alliance and its structure within like 12 hours. So not great.
No, and yeah, like you said, there's nothing they can do. They can't predict this. So
yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at. Suri, while this is all going, is kind of forming her own structure. We've mentioned a lot about Izzy, and as we saw on the show, Izzy is like basically sworn her fealty to Suri, and
she's the Brienne of Tarth to
Yeah.
Catelyn Stark here.
and that's not changed. Her Suri kind of has Jared as her mole from the other side, feeding her info. She has Izzy on one side as like this kind of psycho running around doing really dumb shit and like is trying to keep her on a leash, but like she's unwaveringly loyal, so like it's useful for now. And she's drawing a ton of heat and is likely to be the main target from the other side if they continue to win HOHs. So that's great. So she's a shield and she's a loyal shield, so you kind of have to put up with it. And on the other side, she has Felicia, who is her actually, number one outside of Jared, who is made some mistakes, but is a way more rational and easier to talk to strategic partner. And then she also has pulled in basically all of the stragglers that have been left out of the Stanley Style Alliance. People like Heisem, people like Bowie, Red to a degree. And that's kind of formed this like Bye Bye Bitches Professors Alliance. So like Bye Bye Bitches is kind of like a sub-alliance. Professors is kind of like the Family Style comparison name of the other side. And then you also have Luke, who is somehow not involved in either of these big alliances and is the only person. And at a certain point, it became obvious. And so everyone's like, okay, we have to get Luke.
Yeah. People were like, oh my God, Luke, terrible, not positioning himself well. Well, look at him now. Everybody wants to be, everyone wants a piece of Luke, He just waited it out.
Yeah, I think I saw a tweet. It was like, I've never seen somebody so strategically incompetent fielding everybody in the house as if they were HOH.
It's so real.
Phalanx 5, baby.
Yeah. That's what he's like. What are we talking about? What is handful? What is this? Are we still Phalanx 5 to the end?
Yeah, as Kirsten is walking up the door. Yeah.
It's 5. Phalanx 4.
So Phalanx 4?
Yeah, it still starts with an F. It's still got the alliteration going.
Yeah, he's the one to not vote for Kirsten. He just goes up and is like, sorry, but it had to be this way because of the Phalanx 5.
Yeah.
It was like, otherwise unanimous vote.
Mm-hmm. Everyone's freaking out about like a hinky vote.
Yeah.
And it's just Luke is like completely out in the dark.
Oh man, that'd be so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, also people think he's a twin. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah.
I heard that, yeah.
Well, okay. This is just code, right? Because like you can't remember anybody's names. He's completely incompetent. He's like basically not put any major effort until absolutely necessary into strategizing or socializing. So people are like, oh, it must be because he's a twin and he's swapping out every day and so they're not able to communicate, and so he's losing all these. No, he's just bad at Big Brother. All right, some people are allowed to be bad at Big Brother.
He's gonna be so sick when he's in the like final 6 of this season somehow. Or, like, honestly, he could win. He just has to win a couple comps and he's gonna win.
I mean, that's not like it's not. It happens, right? Bad players make it deep a lot.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, I guess. Anything else we want to talk about here? It's been a crazy week. I don't know how we've like managed to get through all this in 35 minutes.
We're efficient here.
Yeah.
Who needs like 18 hours of podcasts like the other networks have? 35 minutes here. I did think it was hilarious to go back to Izzy for a second. She said to Suri that Suri, you and I are the core of this alliance. And then Jared's on
mom.
Yeah, call Suri mom, which is a whole other thing. But yeah, Suri, we're the core of this alliance, and Jared is like on the next level outside of it. Oh man, I love Izzy. So good.
So she's incredible casting. Like I like oscillate back and forth of like, oh, she's a genius. Oh, she's completely insane. Like like every 5 minutes, it's like like I think that like she's not great at Big Brother and just kind of fell into a good position. But but like she's awesome feeds. She's like one of like top tier casting.
Yeah, I think when she gets nominated is gonna be insane. Like, clear your schedule.
She cries 10 times a day over nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
She's not gonna stop crying if she's on the block.
And then if she wins HOH, just call out of work for the week, because that's gonna be a wild week of feeds.
Yeah.
Let's just call that week like Isenheimer or something.
Yeah,
because it's just gonna blow up.
It's gonna be so good. I can't wait. I'm praying for the BB gods to bless us.
Give us Isenheimer.
I mean,
not Isenheimer, but Isenheimer.
Yeah, I mean, my only issue is like I said, Izzy's a target right now, and like if a Jag or a Blue, or probably not a Blue, because Blue and Heisem and Izzy made like kind of a LGBT like kind of pact. They wouldn't like target each other in the short term, even though they're kind of on opposite sides. So like, well, like if a Jag wins HOH or a Matt, maybe like those two I think are definitely targeting Izzy heading in next week. So like there's definitely people looking at her.
Yeah, it's over before it started maybe, but yeah, I'll hold out hope here for an Izzy HOH before it's all said and done. We need to at least get like BB16 when Devin won the second HOH. Just like we were blessed. We were so blessed. We didn't realize how good we had it until the rest of the season was quite boring.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. This season, like it's rare on BBUS in particular that we get like a true like two sides right from the beginning. Like sometimes it kind of devolves into two sides, or like last season where it started off with one side having a lot of power and then like things kind of reconfigured and there was another side that ended up having power for basically the rest of the season with the leftovers. It's like BB20 is like kind of the only real modern season that has that, and even then like Faute was incompetent, like very highly incompetent. So it was more like one side that thought they were the only side, and then level 6 who were actually playing Big Brother. Whereas here, I actually think that both sides could succeed, and especially with a lot of the like heavy comp threats potentially being on the family style side. You know, you can definitely not write them off, even though Cerise kind of outmaneuvered them socially so far.
Yeah, Heisem's gonna like really have to hard
Yeah.
carry like comps.
Well, we kind of buried the lead here. Heisem is going to be the first POV winner. He's going to not use it, obviously. Dom's still the same. Kirsten's probably going home. But as Brian mentioned,
Right.
he was like basically like on pace with an Olympian in a physical competition. In the first comp, he was, I think, the runner-up behind Riley on the balance beam comp.
He was.
And yeah, he now wins this POV. So like, definitely low-key comp threat here, and definitely somebody that people are going to need to be watching out for. And very, very helpful that Suri has kind of scooped him up a little bit. The biggest issue right now for Suri in that side is Heisem still kind of has like this weird, like semi-unresolved, like random hatred for Corey of all people.
Right.
And so like if Heisem were to win HOH and not be like properly directed towards like Riley and Jag, then that might not be great. They kind of tried to smooth things over, but I don't understand why Heisem hates Corey. Corey seems like a pretty harmless person with like basically like he's just kind of like a normal 21-year-old like semi-nerdy like super fan kind of dude. Doesn't really seem to rub anyone the wrong way. I don't know what the fuck Heisem has against him. It's just weird.
It's entirely perplexing. No one on Twitter can tell me either.
Yeah.
Like, I've spent time like trying to backtrack. Nobody knows.
So
it's awesome though. I love it.
Yeah, especially with Jared trying to put in work to drag Corey away from the Family Style Alliance into the Professor's side. It's really not going to be great if Heisem wins the next HOH and like puts him on the block. It would ruin a lot of the work that's being put in by people like Jared right now.
It reminds me a little bit of Steve hating Becky and BB17, just like with his whole heart.
Yeah.
Hated her so much. And she was maybe not even that aware of his presence.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, at least Corey knows. I don't think Corey understands, but he knows, and he's tried to like fix it. So
yeah, and big shout out Corey, not the first evicted, beat his brother.
Yep,
he was first voted off of Survivor. That would have been a much bigger story, I feel like, if Suri didn't come into the game. But,
yeah, I mean, poor Zach Wertenberger has gotten no airing on the live shows yet.
They didn't even like, at least when Meg on BB17 was there and like famously Andrea's friend. At least Andrea was in her package. Didn't have any lines, but they just cut Zach out of Corey's life entirely.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it comes up. I mean, maybe that could be like a. You guys want to take a bet now? Do you think Zach Wertenberger ever gets brought up on Big Brother on the edited show?
I don't. I mean, the one thing is maybe they'll do one of the from home segments.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well.
Like that's the one, but like that, I don't know. I guess in this last episode they did go to Corey a lot for diary rooms, so that like shows me that production at least is invested in him and likes him, you know, as a narrator. It wasn't just about him being in the Nether. It was like, you know, some other, you know, big scenes where he was kind of narrating the action. So maybe I think there's like a 5% chance that Zach shows up. I think if he had made the merch of Survivor, he would have been mentioned.
Yeah, I didn't realize his brother was a first boot, so that explains everything.
He was technically a second boot because the first boot that season was like technically like medevac or whatever. Like they had to be mediquet basically, but like he was the first person voted out. So
yeah, my winner pick too. So.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Tough stuff.
Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, I don't have much else that I can think of. The feud was the one other thing I wanted to bring up, so I'm glad you did, Ben.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah. So random.
So
yeah, I mean there's a lot to talk about, but it's like it would require so much context and setup that like it's like not even worth diving into.
And we don't know where anything's going to settle.
Yeah.
There are going to be so many conversations and things that we think are going to matter that are ultimately not going to matter, that we just don't know yet. You know, if we were doing a daily show, then we would get into all that. But like, we're trying to cover it from a high level here. I feel
Yeah.
like
High level, these are the two sides. It's like basically split down the middle. The next HOH is going to be really interesting to see kind of where things land. There's a lot of kind of like people floating between power right now among the cores. Like Red is kind of floating back and forth. Obviously, Jared and Corey to a degree are floating back and forth. You have like somebody like a Cameron from the other side also. On purpose or like incidentally has leaked a lot of info for some reason, even though he's in the core of the of Riley's group, and mostly because I think he's like close to Red. There's like kind of an obvious like connection there. They're both like kind of Southern dudes. So yeah, there's a lot of fluidity. It's not nice and neat and at all. Like it's not like a normal season where it's like, oh, this is the obvious majority group that's going to run the game. There's this could really go anyway at this point.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
It's week 1.
So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'm trying to think. We did the possible twin. We'll see. I don't really believe it. There's rumors that an 18th house guest is going to enter. I doubt it very much at this point. We're so far into this game, and because of how crazy it is, it feels like we're even further than a normal, first week is into it. And then there's no memory board yet, so that's like freaking people out, including
that is weird.
People watching the feeds that they don't. I think it's literally just because there's 17 people and they only have it like configured 18, an 8 and 8 on the two screens, and they're just waiting for the first boot to leave.
Yeah, I feel bad for Kirsten that she's like. I mean, it's at least like Cameron and BB19 had his face there very briefly, and then it was replaced by Paul. And then you also had I think Jace.
Jace.
And BB17 when Julia ends up fully entering the game as her own player, replaces him. So at least previously, when there's been like a 17th house guest introduced as a twist, the first boot gets like some shine on the memory wall before they're replaced. But nope, not this time. Person's probably just not going to be on the memory wall ever.
Yeah. It's funny too, because like back in the day when the memory wall was like a physical wall, they'd have everyone, and you figured it'd be easier to do it digitally, but no, apparently not.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense, right? Like you can kind of put picture frames on like a shelf any way you want, but like digitally you kind of have to make it look neat. So
yeah, true. Oh man, well, this is a lot of fun. I'm so excited to talk about this season. I'm so excited Big Brother is back, especially with like the writer's strike happening. I don't know what we're gonna get for TV coming up in the next like few months to a year. So we gotta treasure our fun, trashy reality shows when we can.
Yeah. So luckily, I still have 2 episodes of Black Mirror banked, so
Nice.
I'm waiting to watch those for when I have like a day that I want to get into a scripted show. So
not to get too much of a tangent, but comeback season for Black Mirror, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I mean, I only watched 3 of the 5 episodes, but all of them were great. So and given that the last 2 seasons before were not good, in my opinion, definitely a big step up.
Yeah,
good to know.
Other than that, what do we want to promote, boys? What we got? Chad, you got anything?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at ChadFerry25. Right? Oh, it's backwards here. Over here. And Instagram at CharlieJP.
Yeah, I mean, you can follow me also on Twitter. I refuse to call it X, and that's I think I put out a tweet about the season so far, maybe 2. So I just am not active on the platform anymore. It's kind of gone downhill a lot. But Big Brother is the one thing that's kind of pulled me back. So
yeah, I'm not redoing the overlay. It's saying Twitter.
Much work
as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, follow me there at the Faking Marks, VMARR. We'll be talking to the producers of Survivor New York, Chris and Naomi. They've been on the show before on the Blindsiders. They're going to be doing a live streaming coming up soon, the end of the month. So that's going to hopefully help promote it. And other than that, we got our sports channel, Wicked Good Sports. This is, of course, Better Radio. We have all our podcasting channels, and we have our main channel, which is Wicked Good Everything. Oh, and the new, as if there's not enough that we do, the new channel, Slow News Week, where I do some comedy news videos when I feel like. Not really consistent schedule there yet. And I don't know how much Big Brother is going to cut into that as it is, but yeah, we got a lot going on, and we appreciate you checking it out if you're still listening at this point.
Yeah, otherwise, we'll be back next week to talk about week 2 of BB25.
Later.